like to have fun, and I try to bring that out when I'm making these pieces, and make sure that, you know, when people look at them, they can get a little giggle, a little chuckle, or even be a little bit, maybe even a little scared.
It's bad, you know.
My name's Karl Unnasch, and I'm an artist.
It's bad, you know.
I do this thing called Guild of One, where I am a guild. There's no apprentices, there's no other guild masters, there's just me. And I take things that people bring me, I run them through my art filter, make this little production of an art object, and then I give it back to them. I would say that the work I do, if there was one word for it, it could be hobbyism. I'm an hobbyist artist. The way I see it is that somebody who is an enthusiast, they're into their hobby. However they decide to display their collection, however they decide to make their dollhouse, you're really good at what you do, and it makes you complete when you do it. And you're not interested in necessarily sharing it. That doesn't come to mind. You're just sitting there going, I really like doing this, it makes me happy. Even though a lot of these people don't think about it, they just do it. And that goes back into the whole Guild of One, where I take this stuff after I live with it for a while, I consider its necessity for me, I consider what it can do, then I can let it go. And that letting go, that's the hardest thing for a hobbyist, because you put so much of yourself into it, how do you honestly let that go and still be happy? That's the trick. Once that's gone, there's a fear that builds up that says, I don't have that anymore. Now what do I do? And for me, it's just like, okay, make something else. There's millions of objects in the world. Be a magnet, be glue, let it stick to you for a while, and then shuffle it off, and then grab something else. You become a one-person production facility, a Guild of One.
Don't you let my baby ride, man. Don't you let my baby ride, man. Don't you let my baby ride, man. Don't you let my baby ride.
In a nutshell, what I do is I grab something and then I contemplate it. I look at it, I'm aware of its physical nature, I wonder about its historical nature, you know, its own history, and then I start building on that. I let it go into a context, I let it fall into this little drive down a road, and I try to steer as much as possible to where, as I'm building on it, as I'm making it, the narrative continues to be constructed, this symbiotic relationship of what it is in front of me and what I want to put into it, and how that can blend together and amalgamate, and then turn into a final product. I'm not as interested in the final product as I am aware of how the pieces fit together as I go. A lot of what I do comes from the rural lifestyle. I grew up rurally, I continue to live rurally, farm kid. I've always embraced that. Even the times when I've gone off to live in the city to do my education and whatnot, I've always been called back because I know this is a great place to contemplate, to have a lot of creative thought time, and to be able to connect with something that's actually quite rare nowadays. Most of the skills I have started there out of necessity. Using tools, using construction methods, using, being aware of how things fit together, how they come apart, how they're built, how they last. I think that just was every day. It was built into me by whether it was a lesson from my mother or father or a lesson from just what I was observing. And that's where I start bringing all of these things I first learned tighter together And then I look at the hobbyist realm of how it's all this myriad of concepts and materials and methods that are fascinating. I bring that together and then I start spewing it out. In order for me to continue to be a self-sufficient artist, a big A artist, I have to really be on top of my game as far as being vigilant as to where I can get my paychecks from. It's a job. It's a career. To do that, I have to be more than just an artist. I have to pitch myself with confidence and aplomb. I have to be able to express myself clear for my audience to be attracted to what I'm doing. Otherwise, if I turn it into this huge mystery and I'm not approachable, no one's going to want to write a check, no one's going to want to swipe a card, no one's going to want to hand me cash. So I have to be approachable in that regard. That said, I'm not interested in becoming a corporate artist. You know, I'm not going to use the term a sellout because that's relative, but I'm not interested in being full-on corporate where I stop being infused into my work. My personality, I think, comes off as pretty stoic and confident, sometimes cocky, but that's born out of knowing what I want to do. I don't have a lot of questions as far as not knowing where I want to be, but I also understand there's a part of me that has to be flexible enough to allow, just like growing up on the farm, I have to allow the outside stimuli, the outside variables to change my path. For a metaphor, I still travel down a gravel road, but I don't know how it's going to turn. But I'm a little bit familiar with it, so I can drive a little faster. And I know where the curves are, I know when to slow down.